Over the last couple of weeks on the channel, I've been bringing you some of the best stories from the 2025 NFL rookie class, and today we have another story that, in my opinion, was borderline impossible. I know some people think I overused that word, but this guy truly actually has a crazy story. He ended up having one offer coming out of high school, which was to Hillsdale College. The odds of making it to the NFL from Hillsdale College have to be pretty much at 0%. Isaac TeSlaa ended up proving everybody wrong as he became a star at Hillsdale and then turned that into Power 4 offers out of the transfer portal. He then went and balled out in the SEC for 2 years, and combining that with insane athleticism, he ended up becoming a day 2 draft pick to the team he grew up watching, the Detroit Lions. In today's video, we're going to talk about the insane rise of Isaac TeSlaa, how he went from Hillsdale to a 3rd round pick, and just this crazy story. But before we get started, if you're a big fan of college football, be sure to subscribe to the channel, leave a like if you support today's video, and let me know what player, team, topic, or situation I can cover next. Now let's get started and talk about the insane rise of Isaac TeSlaa. Okay, so in order to understand how he got to this point, let's first go back in time. His nickname as a kid was Military Man, and he grew up as the only son in a big family. He spent his afternoons in Hudsonville, Michigan, coloring with his 3 sisters and waiting for his dad to get home so he could go outside and do something real and play football. He grew up in the state of Michigan and was a huge Detroit Lions fan. He even went to the Lions' 2023 NFC Championship game against the Niners and saw the Lions come as close as they ever have to reaching the Super Bowl. As a 10-year-old, Isaac's Christmas present was a 2012 trip to a Lions home football game, and they witnessed Calvin Johnson break Jerry Rice's single-season receiving yards record. His dad played wide receiver in college, but Isaac always wanted to be a quarterback. For most of his football life, Isaac was a good athlete but was considered undersized. He gradually started to realize that he would need to switch positions though if he ever wanted to play at the next level. Luckily, his dad showed him the ropes, and it was a pretty natural transition for him. His dad said, quote, "I'd always tell him you have to catch everything with your hands, and I don't ever want to see you catch something with your body or anything like that." Besides football, he was also a basketball star, but he said that he was a typical football player who just played basketball. He was physical and was not afraid to be a scrapper on the court, and at the time, he had a vertical leap of 41 inches. That is bonkers for a high school athlete, as the average vertical for an NBA player at the combine is 30. I don't know how this guy ended up going under-recruited, but his head coach at Unity Christian High School said, quote, "We would watch him in practice, and when he would warm up, he would never catch the ball with 2 hands, it was always just 1. Unfortunately, that coach would waste his talent for quite some time, as he ran the wing T offense. Cam Ward also notably played in this system, and there was never a chance for Isaac to put skills on the tape for college coaches. Okay, maybe I'm harsh for saying the coach wasted his talent, because I'm sure he ended up winning games. Obviously, some would have said he should have transferred to a different system, but at the time, Isaac felt privileged to be the Crusaders' starting quarterback, and his dad was a coach there, so Isaac just wanted to stick around. He ended up staying and followed up the 2018 state championship game with an appearance in the semifinals the following season. This school started playing football in 2003 and was now one of the better private programs in Michigan. Isaac would play a big part in this, and he finally made a position change to wide receiver. He did all this during the 2020 season, and he took advantage of all that extra time he had. He never got frustrated with his lack of offers in the spring of 2020, as he said there was simply too much work to be done. He said, quote, "I didn't have any tape at receiver, so it was tough getting recruited." He did not profile as somebody who could play college football until his junior year of high school, as he finally got a Division I offer from Valparaiso, which is located in northwest Indiana. In the end though, he decided to play for his dad's school, Hillsdale College. As while he was a gifted athlete, he needed to improve in his technical skills if he wanted to be a big-time receiver, but luckily his athleticism combined with hard work helped him to have good numbers. He ended up running for about 1,200 yards and 14 touchdowns as a senior, but as I said, he was just going to end up going to Hillsdale. He helped guide his team to state championships in football and basketball, plus won a regional title in long jump, and he had a 4.54 40-yard dash time and a 41-inch vertical. He had the athleticism, but he was going to go unnoticed. Nobody nationally watches Hillsdale College. How would he end up doing there? Well, he would blow up. He became a starter for Hillsdale midway through his freshman season and actually broke out as a sophomore and then became one of the best Division II players in the country as a junior. He did all of that while hiding a hand injury as he wore a cast and nursed a broken hand for nearly a month. His coach said, quote, "I mean, can you imagine trying to catch footballs with a broken hand? He's just a freak of nature that way." In 2022 at Hillsdale, TeSlaa caught 68 passes for 1,300 yards and 13 touchdowns, and during his 2 years in total, he had over 100 catches for over 2,000 yards and 20 total touchdowns. As their son began to blow up in the Great Midwest Athletic Conference, they were bombarded with questions about his future. He was playing at a D2 school in Michigan, and it was clear he was a cut above the competition. Now he could do something about it with the emergence of the transfer portal, and everybody wanted to know what he would do, but they would say nothing until after the season due to their respect for Hillsdale. It was not a simple decision either, as the school was a family affair, and he was comfortable there. But he had dreamed of playing in the NFL, and moving to a Power 4 program would give him a shot at turning it into a career. His dad said, "I called him up on the phone and said, 'Hey bud, where are you at with this? I think you could play at a different level if you want to, but I don't know where your heart's at.'" He then told his dad that he was ready and he wanted to try it out. Immediately, Power 5 schools began to follow him on Twitter, and this would end up helping him out a lot. He could not believe it either, as he said the recruiting process was crazy, and he wasn't sure that when he hit the portal, he'd have any offers. He ended up having a final 5 of Colorado, Arkansas, Iowa, Purdue, and Iowa State, and he would eventually choose the Razorbacks, as the opportunity to play in the SEC was just too tempting. He would eventually arrive at Arkansas, and making the jump from Division II to the SEC did not come without challenges. He said the biggest difficulty was the playbook, as he said, quote, "Obviously it's a lot bigger than where I was before. There's a lot more room for creativity, and I feel like with the playbook, we have an answer for everything." Then, the second part was the speed, as that stood out to him, as that was a welcome to the SEC kind of moment. With Matt Landers and Jaden Hazelwood going off to the NFL, and Keytron Jackson and Warren Thompson leaving for the transfer portal, the Razorbacks had an opportunity at the wide receiver spot. During his first year in 2023, he had KJ Jefferson as his quarterback, and in total, he caught 34 passes for 351 yards and 2 touchdowns. He had a touchdown in their opening game against Western Carolina, had 4 catches against BYU, 4 catches against the number 11 Alabama Crimson Tide, and then a touchdown against Auburn. He was definitely seen as just a rotational piece back in 2023, but going into 2024, he had a new quarterback in Taylon Green, and they were definitely hoping to utilize his athleticism more. How would TeSlaa end up doing? Well, he got better, but he also missed some games. He had 3 catches against Pine Bluff in their first game before having a breakout performance against Texas A&M. Against the top 25 Aggies, TeSlaa would catch 5 passes for 120 yards and a touchdown, and that was his best performance of his career. He then had good performances against both the Mississippi schools, and then would have 2 touchdowns against Louisiana Tech. In their final regular season game against number 21 Missouri, he caught a season-high 6 passes for 59 yards, and Arkansas would end up making a bowl game. They would face off with Texas Tech in the AutoZone Liberty Bowl, and in a 13-point win, he'd have his second career game of over 100 yards, as he catched 3 passes for 107 yards in that game. In total, TeSlaa caught 28 passes for 546 yards and 3 touchdowns, and there's definitely something that you have to be noticing right now. It's the fact that he never really had that great of a season. Sure, those numbers are fine, but in 2 years, he just had 62 catches for 896 yards and 5 touchdowns. Those are not typically numbers that send you to be a day 2 draft pick, but I guess NFL franchises saw his potential. ESPN draft analyst Matt Miller thought he was a day 3 prospect with good size, speed, and athletic ability, and that he could blow up at the combine. While he was at the combine, he would share the spotlight with dozens of big-time draft prospects, and most of those guys were highly regarded players that were blue-chip recruits or were always supposed to play for big-time programs. He was quite the opposite. He was a 0-star recruit from Hillsdale. He'd then say, quote, "I'd say I'm a gritty player, and I love to get in the run game. Outside of that, I'm going to catch anything that is thrown my way." At the combine, he was asked about which team he wanted to play for, and he wanted to go to the Detroit Lions. He said it was always a dream of his to play in the NFL, and that his biggest dream was to play for the Lions. Whatever happens though, he was going to be happy. Luckily, his dream would end up coming true, as on day 2 of the draft, the Lions would move up 32 spots and decide to draft Isaac TeSlaa with the 70th overall pick in the 3rd round. Honestly, you could say this was the most heartwarming pick of the 2025 draft, and honestly, the Lions are getting a player with a lot of potential, but he could also be a complete bust. I don't want to be a Debbie Downer or ruin the story here, but I don't really know about this pick. The Lions already have pretty good depth at the receiver spot, and they drafted Dominic Lovett in the 7th round from Georgia. TeSlaa obviously has great athleticism, but his stats just don't really add up. He didn't really do a whole lot in his 2 years at Arkansas and never really dominated against SEC defenses. How do we expect him to do better against NFL defenses? That I don't know, but they are getting a guy who is an extremely hard worker, and they must have looked at his tape from Hillsdale as well. His college coach said his best film actually came from Hillsdale, but at the same time, that's D2, not the NFL. Either way, it is a great story though, as this guy is a super athlete and has lots of potential. Only time will tell to see if he can actually pan out and do a good NFL player, but for now, he may take the cake for the best story in the 2025 NFL Draft. But what do you guys think? If you're an Arkansas, Hillsdale, or a Lions fan, what do you think of Isaac TeSlaa? How do you think he will do this season? And who's another rookie who has an incredible story? Be sure to let me know down below, leave a like if you support today's video, subscribe if you're new, and check out one of the videos on the end screen. Hope to see you guys again soon, but until next time, peace.